Welcome back to the channel. Today we are effectively doubling our solar power up here on the roof of our 2005 Lance 981. We are going to be going from 480 watts of solar to 880 watts of solar by adding two 200-watt bifacial solar panels from Bougie RV. Let's get into it. If you're new around here, we're Eric and Marissa. We've spent the last 3 years traveling full-time in our truck camper. Our truck camper is a 2005 Lance 981. It started out with a whopping 50-watt solar panel from the factory. 5 years ago, I added 3 solar panels, 160 watts each, totaling 480 watts, which lives on our roof rack. But now we need more. So what I'm doing up here on the roof right now is taking some preliminary measurements of where I want each one of these mounts to go on the solar panel. Because I'm adding individual riv nuts for each bracket, I'm taking the time to go through and lay out exactly where it would be the most ergonomical on our roof, so that we have the best amount of contact and structural strength between that mount and the roof itself. As you can see, I've already made some marks with some whiteout on the solar panel as to where we're going to be drilling through the sidewall of it and putting in riv nuts, which are going to be another key component to how we're going to install this panel safely to our roof. The plan is we are going to drill out a spot for some riv nuts to go through, and then we'll be through bolting them through the Better Mount bracket system here. While I'm installing these riv nuts and brackets to the outside of these solar panels, I want to explain what solar panels we're going with and what makes them perfect for our application and possibly yours too. These are 200-watt bifacial N-type solar panels from Bougie RV. What originally drew me to these solar panels are their dimensions. They're 26% smaller than other 200-watt panels on the market. With our limited space on the cab over of the camper, I wanted to maximize the amount of solar I could stuff onto the remaining roof space. Outside of having the ideal dimensions, these solar panels have 3 pieces of the newest technology in solar that made them an easy choice for our new solar array. They're bifacial solar panels, so sunlight that reflects off the roof back to the solar panels is captured and converted into energy, allowing them to be far more efficient when the sun is at an angle, like in the morning hours or during winter months. Then you have the fact that these panels use N-type cells. When compared to P-type cells other solar panels are made with, N-type provide much better low light performance, handle heat drastically better, and still remain incredibly efficient, all while having better resistance to degradation over time, providing you many years of flawless performance. The N-type cells work hand in hand with the last piece of advanced technology in these solar panels, and that is TOPCon, which stands for Tunnel Oxide Passivated Contact, a fancy way of saying these panels are able to capture more sunlight and be more efficient at converting sunlight into usable power than the conventional P-type panel. Stick around until the end, where I'll be comparing the efficiencies of these new Bougie RV N-type panels against my existing P-type panels on my roof rack. The order of operations is going to be VHB tape, Dicor lap sealant, and then the tape last. So I spent a bunch of time yesterday and today prepping the roof for receiving these solar panels and the 3M VHB tape and the Dicor and the Eternabond that we're going to be using to hold these panels down. Now additionally, I noticed that some portions of the Luan on the top of my roof is already kind of pulling back from the roof itself. So as much as I didn't want to have to use screws on these solar panels, we're going to ultimately be using some screws to make sure that they don't fly off. One of the reasons why I want to put in so much effort to clean this roof is not only just to get a really strong bond between the solar panels and the roof, but also because these are bifacial solar panels, so any sunlight that reflects either through the panel or under the panel and off of the roof is going to bounce back and generate energy. So I haven't cleaned my roof in forever. Now it's going to be bright white and be able to reflect that sunlight right up onto the panel and give us optimal power even in side sun, where normally a flat panel kind of falls on its face. So I've spent the better part of the last 3 days installing these very special solar panel mounts that by design are intended for you to not need to drill into the roof of your camper. But I'm going to do a blend of drilling into the roof of the camper and also not, depending on where each mount lines up on the roof. Each panel has 9 brackets on it. Each bracket requires 2 riv nuts. Each riv nut requires an insane amount of time to be installed when you're forced to use a tool from O'Reilly's because you don't have Amazon close by. I'm definitely satisfied with the way they came out, but I lost probably a day and a half of my life to installing these brackets onto these solar panels. The good part about these brackets is they're going to have a great amount of contact points with the roof of the camper. We're going to drill into the front mounts and screw those into the roof, And then the side ones are going to be attached just with the 3M VHB tape, die-core, and a Turnabond tape over the top. So the first, and in some people's beliefs, most important part of this process of mounting the solar panels to the roof with as few screws as possible is the use of 3M VHB tape. In order to prep our brackets for that, I'm going to just hit them with some goof off, wipe them all down, and then start applying our tape. While I'm putting on this VHB tape, we'll talk a little bit about why we're feeling like we need more power from our solar panel setup than we currently have. So our current solar setup, it works really well when you've got plenty of sunshine, it's summertime, long days, short nights. But wintertime, when it's cloudy and you've got less light per day, we were finding ourselves last winter running our generator in order to keep us powered. This year, the goal is to not have to run the generator at all in wintertime. And we're also looking to add a DC compressor fridge to our life. So we would be phasing out our 3-way fridge in favor of probably 12-volt compressor fridge. Not only would we gain some space in our fridge, but we'd also not use nearly as much propane. Not that it's a drastic expense, but if I can supply my fridge power from the sun, why not? In addition to also wanting to be able to run our future fridge on 12 volts, Starlink, as many of you know, uses quite a bit of juice. It is an energy hog. While we're in Baja this winter, we're gonna be in a lot of places where you're not gonna have cell signal, and we're going to need to have some connectivity for our Airbnbs. So to be able to run our Starlink 24/7 and know that in the morning we'll be able to wake up and regenerate power with the help of these Bougie RV solar panels is another reason why having some more power in our lives will be advantageous. All right, today's the day. We're getting these solar panels mounted up on the roof, and I've got a limited window of time before the rain comes in, so hoping to get these things up on the roof and tacked down before the rain comes in. So here we go. So I'm just working on situating where I want this solar panel to live, making sure it's square on the roof, trying to make sure that each one of the mounts are going to be nice and level and flush with the roof so it makes good solid contact. And then I'm going to be taking a Sharpie, stencil out around each one of the mounts, and then get to peeling off this tape and securing this thing to the roof with the first layer of contact for how we're going to mount these Bougie RV 200-watt bifacial solar panels to our roof. So it might not make total sense at first why I have removed the solar panel, but the goal is to take die-core and go around each one of these brackets, in addition to putting screws in a handful of the brackets where I know there's at least something solid for it to grab into. Gonna add probably about 15 screws throughout all of these brackets and then start sealing them up so that way the VHB tape doesn't get contaminated by impending rain that comes every day here in Colorado. All right, last 2 screws, or actually let's go with 3 screws here for this mount. And then it's gonna be just a whole lot of die-core. What's sweet is, at least on the other side, outside of the solar panel setup, I was able to get a nice grip. So that's sweet. That means that the back of this bracket is grabbing onto something structural compared to, like, watch this one, where when it goes in, you don't hear that impact driver working, which to me means it's only grabbing just the thin material of the roof rather than something structural like these back ones seem to be grabbing a nice horizontal cross member. Yeah, that's a good grip. So the next step is to take this die-core and go around to each one of the brackets and seal them off completely. So not only are we striving to seal where the screws are, but we want to seal around the whole bracket to prevent water from getting to the 3M VHB tape, and also to add as another way of structurally holding these brackets down to the roof. So I don't have much time to talk to the camera. As you can see behind me, we've got impending clouds coming in, and I still have a whole bunch of solar panel brackets with holes into the roof that are unsealed by Dicor. So I am starting to feel raindrops here and just trying to wrap up these last two bracket mounts for the solar panels. But the good part is these two I am not going to screw in because it's not grabbing anything other than the thin roof line. 7 out of 9 brackets have 2 if not 3 screws in them. I don't foresee any problems with the solar panels wanting to come off, given that we've got 3 points of contact so far between the brackets and the roof, and we still have to do the Eternabond tape once all this stuff dries. Let's get off this roof just in the nick of time. We're done sealing these things up. Just remember, they don't have to be super pretty. You just gotta seal it up. All right, Marissa's yelling at me to get off the roof. Here we go, bye.
12 seconds later.
Panel number 2's up here on the roof with us, but as you can see by the skies behind us, we're contending with more weather. Hopefully we can get this thing tacked down. It's not supposed to rain until 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. It's only about 1 now, but with Colorado weather, it can change at any moment. Solar panel is initially tacked down. I don't quite know what to do about whether I should try and screw in Dicor or wait out these clouds. I guess it's good that I didn't try and put any screws in, because here's the rain just pouring on me. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Well, look at that. 10 minutes later, sun's out again. And in the meantime, took the solar panel off. The mounts are now there, ready to go for screws and silicone. We've got like a 3-4 hour window until potential rain again, so I'm gonna be doing these one at a time. If I put in screws, I will Dicor it right away, and then if I start to see clouds coming in, I will stop right away. So we got 6 out of the 9 brackets all sealed up with Dicor. The back 2 are screwed in. Now I gotta screw in the front 3, Dicor those up, and hopefully we'll have a couple of hours of dry time before potential rain comes in again. The sun stayed out long enough that I felt confident in putting in all the screws and putting down all the Dicor. Now we've got to just kind of let everything dry. I'm probably going to give it like 2 or 3 days before I go and put the Eternabond tape over the Dicor, which would be our last measure of sealing these things from the environment while also retaining them to the roof. The fact that we got screws in the front and screws in the back should keep us very, very safe, but since I have this Eternabond tape and haven't used it in a couple of years, we'll use that later. But I am super excited to get the heck off this roof and not be up here with sticky stuff all over my hands. So we'll check in with you in a couple days when we go to mount these solar panels and wire them in.
72 hours later.
Time to get back up on the roof. I've got a couple hours here after work before it gets dark, so I figured I'm gonna check in on how my Dicor is doing. It should be pretty firm. It's still got a little cushion for the pushing. So the goal for tonight is to get this Eternabond tape put onto the roof, holding down these solar panel brackets. In addition to our other forms of connectivity, all our panels are safely taped down, re-secured to our roof. Now it's time for some solar panels. Pretty stoked on how these solar panels look up here, just hanging out, not bolted down completely yet. That's our next step. Hopefully my last time putting these bolts in and out of these riv nuts on these solar panels been very laborious, but hopefully this means that we're gonna have a nice secure system here and these panels will be forever good up here on our roof.
The next morning.
Hopefully last day up here on the roof. Solar panels are looking sweet. We've gone on one test drive with them. Sure enough, didn't fly off the roof. And today is wiring day. So we are gonna wire these Bougie RV 200 watt panels in parallel. So that will give us 400 watts of very usable power. In the event that you get shade on one, the other one will continue to work. And our hope is that we're going to be able to utilize an existing solar gland that we have on the roof here for our Starlink running through. Let's see how it all goes. Before we get into hooking these solar panels up into parallel, I want to go over a pretty neat item from Bougie that I've not seen before, but should be using on my solar panel setup behind me, and will be using after I'm done setting up these fuses on our new panels. These are an inline fuse that you put in between the panels and your parallel connectors, like these guys here. In order to safely make sure that one panel doesn't cause a problem within the whole system or a fire, which, by the way, I'm not an electrician, so just a little liability thing. Don't do anything I'm doing. I'm just an idiot with a YouTube channel. Over here on this panel, same deal. Just connect your 15 amp fuse right on there, and now you've got an extra buffer to prevent the opportunity at a fire. So I spent the last 5 minutes or so figuring out how I want to lay out my wires for these solar panels and my parallel connectors, along with my PV switch that we're going to have up here on the roof. It's a waterproof PV switch. And so now I just got to get all these connected, and then we're going to tack them down to the roof with these 3M zip tie connectors. So we'll stick them down to the roof, and then I'll put some Dicor over the top of them after running the solar panels wires through, in order to ensure that they'll have a long life up here on our roof. So the act of connecting these in parallel is actually really easy. We've already got our positive side fused. Connection number one. Over here, we've got the other fused one. Connection number two. And then this one, we've got kind of a bunch of excess cord, which I'll show you what we're gonna do with in a little bit. But plug that in. Now we've got our positive side set up. The negative side is even easier. I don't need any kind of added cable in there because it's got a couple of nice long wires, and the orientation of the panels allows me to just pop that one in, pop that one in. And so we're gonna hook up our PV switch. That way we are terminating power and not having to worry about getting electrocuted up here on the roof. Sweet. Well, that's gonna work out perfectly. So slip that cable through. I'll get the proper grommets together and then put the positive cable through, and then we're gonna send it on down through the ceiling of the camper. So everything I'm doing up here with these wires is all just sort of soft mounting right now. For example, I'm trying to get a nice measurement or a nice long run of my positive cable here, and I'm gonna hook it up to the PV switch, but still everything needs to be dialed in and cut to length and then tacked down. All right, typical narrow window. Hopefully these other clouds aren't gonna bring rain, but time to get some Dicor down. Well, I got the Dicor down, but it has definitely got a threat of more rain behind us. Let's check out my smudge work. Looking pretty sweet there. I made a big giant mess of the back here, but that'll all dry out nicely. Before we get off the roof here to go inside and wire up these solar panels, I just want to show off my beautiful wiring work. It looks super professional up here. The only thing I might want to change out is that positive cable. You'll notice that I have it wired under the solar panel. That's because it's 6 feet long and that was the easiest place to hide it. But in a perfect world, I would have a 1 foot cable. So I think I'm going to end up making one out of some scrap from the extra that I'll have for this project. The only thing I haven't tacked down yet is this PV switch, and that's because I just want to make sure that it's the right size and that it's not going to perpetually be tripping from being overloaded. So before I adhere it to the roof, we're going to make sure everything works after we wire everything up. So in here is our electrical compartment for our inverter and our 2 solar controllers. So the solar controller that we're going to be using for these new Bougie RV solar panels is a solar controller that I've already had in here and used for our portable deployable panels that we've had in the past. I already know that it works, just got to rewire it so that we can be providing the power to the controller from the new panels. And then last step will be flipping that PV switch up on the roof, and then we'll have solar going in. So admittedly, this compartment is a hot mess. I need to come in here and do some serious reworking of all the wiring in order to make it look pretty and worthy of YouTube. But for the time being, we're just gonna get this thing hooked up and make sure these solar panels work. It is now that glorious moment where we're gonna find out, do we have 400 watts worth of solar powering our camper or not? All that we have left is to flip on this little PV switch over here and we'll see what we got. I've got our Victron app on right now showing how much solar we're bringing in with our rear display, and then once I flip this switch we'll get to see how much we're making with the new solar array. Well, we're making another 245 watts as we speak. So you can see that now that the dust is kind of settled between the 2 solar arrays, we are making almost the same amount of power out of 2 panels that I am out of the 3 that I have on my rack system here. So pretty awesome. To double our solar setup here, we will now be able to have full battery capacity all day long, even in the winter time when we've got shorter days. So hopefully this will allow us to add more electrical components to our vehicle and slowly continue our process of breaking away from propane. Just want to give a big thank you to Bougie RV for providing us with these solar panels. That way we could double our solar output. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, and check out their Bifacial N-type 200 watt, 300 watt, and 400 watt solar panels that they offer. Bye.